It's time to create a profitable, scalable, and sustainable studio for yourself and your students. Welcome to Dance Studio Empire. I'm Jen, dance studio owner for 30 years, running multiple locations with over 1,000 students, dance business coach turned mastermind mentor for dance studio owners, creatives, and leaders like you. I know you're committed to growing your studio and creating the time and financial freedom you most want, while also being the best in the industry with a reputation to match. I've coached hundreds of studio owners who have grown to 250, 500, and over 1,000 students using my signature studio scaled method. And in this podcast, I'll give you the clarity, strategy, and CEO mindset to help you do the same. Let's dive in. Hello, dance studio owners, and welcome back to Dance Studio Empire. Now, for this episode, I thought I would just stay in the theme of the past couple of episodes I've been speaking on, which is about re-enrolling your current students to encourage as many of them to sign up and lock in before the end of your dance year. And if you're listening to this in current time, then you know now is the time for us down in Southern Hemisphere to start this process because we are only a couple of months out from ending our dance year. Now, I know for a lot of you, timetabling is a big thing. It is a big part of the re-enrollment strategy that I've been speaking about. And it's often questions that I get asked by studio owners of how to do that in the best way to encourage maximum enrollments. And so I thought this episode I would talk about ways that you can make your timetable as desirable and accessible as possible for your families so they sign up with you. All right. So I know that your timetable is one of the biggest selling points for your families. And I also appreciate how challenging timetabling can be. But I do highly suggest that you take some time just to consider some ways that you can set out your timetable so you can encourage the most number of enrollments as possible. So not only for more students, but for one student to take more classes. And also if they've got siblings, then have it so that it's convenient for the parent to be able to drop one off, pick one up at the same time, or if possible, run them at the same time. But what I thought with this podcast is I'll talk you through 7 different points that you could consider when it comes time to plan your timetable for the new year. And I realize that some points are going to be relevant and some may not, but it is certainly worth considering because at the point where I changed the format of my timetabling several years ago, it made a massive difference to my enrollment numbers as well as head count, so class numbers as well. So let's get into it. All right. So the first thing I want you to consider is blocking together the different styles, but in ages. So for example, so you have your 6-year-old classes. And so if you can do as many in a row, so jazz, tap, ballet, hip hop, acro, whatever it is, as many as possible, then it's going to be a no-brainer for your parents to drop their child off and stay longer. Okay, so if say you have it spread out over the week, then your parents will be like, well, I'm only going to come once or twice a week, so you need to make a decision. So you might lose kids by not making it easy for them just to drop off once or twice a week. How I do this, and this is the question I get asked a lot as well, is so for each level that I have in my studio, so for example, I'll use my rising stars level. I make a list of every style that we offer for that age group. So for us, it's jazz, tap, ballet, hip hop, acro, JFH, singing and drama, performance troupe, and performance troupe ballet. So they are all the classes that we offer for that particular age group. Then I have a look at the actual age that they are. And so they're 6. And so I know that our 6-year-olds, we have about 2.5 to 3 hours maximum before they get too tired or they've had enough. So then I look at the timing of each of my classes. So whether they're half an hour classes, whether they're 45-minute classes, however it works for you. And then I put together as many as I can in a row that I'll be able to keep the attention span and the excitement and the fun going for them in those classes. So for us, our Rising Stars, I think we do 5 in a row on a Monday. And then the extra ones I put in a block again on a different day. Plus, if there's some that I can cross over, I will. So if our jazz classes are particularly popular, I'll add an extra jazz in the row on that same day. So it also allows the classes, if they're filling up, then you can suggest another day for new enrolments coming in. So it just gives another option to actually lock them in. And so I do that across all of the levels that we have in the studio. And then that way, it's just opening up the board to make it as easy as possible for parents. I mean, they literally say, well, they're already here, so they may as well stay for acro and hip hop too. Now, where this becomes challenging is when you have specialist teachers in. And so maybe that's, for us, it's acro, and as well, some of our ballet classes, we have a specialist ballet teacher come in. And so that is where it does get a little bit tricky. How I get around that is my studio, we have 2 studios running at the same time, and then I alternate between the studios. So for example, our 6-year-olds will be doing ballet, say in studio 1, and we'll have our 8-year-olds doing performance troupe in studio 2. And then once those classes are finished, I switch them over. So the 8-year-olds go to do ballet, the 6-year-olds come down to do performance troupe. And so that way they're still there. I'm still able to utilize my specialist teacher, and that's how we get around it at my studio. So that may be something for you to consider. All right, so moving on to the next point. I do similar class blocks and options on different days. So if it's possible for you, run the same or similar ages and genres on different days throughout the week. Now, for those with smaller studios or smaller numbers, this might not be possible to start with. And so you'll build up your numbers with the classes that you have. And once they get to a point where you're ready to split, I would then suggest finding those popular ones, finding the classes that have the most enrollments, and then offer that on a different day. And again, try and do it in blocks so that it encourages the student to do more than just one class. But this way, parents will say, you can say to the parents, look, these are the days, and they'll say, we can't make it on a Monday for those classes. And you can just say, well, we have the same or similar classes on a Thursday and a Saturday. Would that work for you? And so you're taking away that, well, they can't make it on that particular day, so they'll have to go somewhere else. So that is, again, something for you to consider. How I have done that in the past when I'm starting new classes, and how we originally expanded, was if I'm introducing a new class, I make the age range a little bit wider so I can put more people in it. And then as it grows, I then split that into 2 different age groups. So that's how I get around that. All right, next thing is sibling consideration. Now, again, this could depend on the setup of your studio. So there's 2 ways you could look at this. But if you're timetabling with class blocks with age ranges that are similar to what siblings generally are, now I know this is very general, but if you're looking at the average family, there's 2 to 3 years apart. And so if you can be running in one studio, if you've got one studio, one age group, and then 2 to 3 years older in another studio, then there's more chance that if a family has siblings that want to dance, that they will be encouraged to come to your studio, because again, it's easier for the parent to just drop off and for both kids to be dancing. Now, if you don't have 2 spaces, what you can do is just run those age groups one after the other. So they could drop one sibling off and then come and pick them up at the same time they're picking up their first one. They can drop off their second one. And so that's a way to get around that. And I've found that worked before we had the opportunity to have two or more studios running at the same time. And so that's how we did that. And again, it just makes it easier for the parents. Like, okay, well, you may as well keep it simple that way. And some people, you will hear some parents prefer, I'd rather just come once in the afternoon as opposed to, well, twice to drop off and pick up as opposed to 4 times. But then there are the other ones that say, I'd much prefer to come only on one day as opposed to splitting it over other days. So it's just another option for you to give to your families to see what works. All right, next one. Consider the previous year's timetable and try not to upset it too much each year. So look at ways that you can add value with small adjustments, but try to not do a complete restructure. Now, in saying that though, if your timetable is all over the place at the moment, it may be worth doing a massive restructure to get it all into a nice, clean order for your families. But once you've done it in this format, then you'll see that each year there are tweaks. And although there's not big changes, it still doesn't take away how big the job is. I totally get that. And the time that it does take to redo for the following year. But in the eyes of the parents, there isn't much change. And so I will actually try and keep groups on the same days for a couple of years in a row, because I would prefer, because the parents are used to just coming on a particular day. So that's their day. So I will, if it works, change the level. Like if they're moving up, I'll actually put that level on that day. So that's how I tend to rotate the timetable. So although it's a change for you if you're putting in new levels on different days, your current students are just staying on the same day. So it doesn't feel like a big change to them. And I found that works really well as well. All right, next one. Next point is to start marketing new classes for the following year before the end of your current year. So things you can consider, you want to start building the excitement about it before, well, even really before your enrollments open or your re-enrollments open for your current students. You want to start talking about them in class. Think of ways that you can get them involved. Maybe you could have an open day and your kids could come in and try this new style for free. Okay, so say for example, I don't know, acro. Say, for example, acro. So you don't have it. And this is how I did it with acro. We just sent out an email to everyone saying we're so excited that we're offering acro from next year, and we'd love to give your child a taste to see if they like it. And so we planned a day where they all came. We had them broken up into different ages. We had the acro teacher come in, and she'd had a fun, exciting class for them. It gave them an idea of what they were doing. It gave the parents an idea of how it worked and how it was structured. And so from that, they're like, yes. And still to this day, acro is one of our most popular styles. So this is how we also introduced hip hop into the studio. But what we did was I got the hip hop teacher that we were bringing in for the new year to come and teach our seniors a hip hop dance. And so at the concert, they performed it. So the parents got to see it, the kids got to see it, and we could build hype around it. And so that's how I introduce new things into the studio and have classes filled. So it's not just like it turns up on their doorstep and they're like, and you're begging them, please join, please join. They've seen it. They've tried it. They know how it runs. They're excited about it. And so that is how I would suggest you sort of building and marketing these new classes before you even start them. So it's worth it. Just build that hype. All right. The next thing is, if you have time in your timetable, to consider offering latest trends or crazes, things that are exciting at the moment. So, for example, when Glee came out, you know how Glee was such a big thing for a couple of years. At that time, that's when we introduced the musical theatre, and I think we actually even called it Glee classes, but it was enough hype and excitement to fill the classes because they were seeing it on TV and they were talking about it at school. And so that's how we built those classes, which then morphed over a couple of years into musical theatre. But that's how we got them in. Same with our acro, did the same thing. for a couple of years, one of my teachers was actually a cheerleading instructor. So we brought cheerleading in for a couple of years. And I mean, cheerleading's big. I know some of you are struggling losing kids to cheerleading at the moment. But again, if you can utilize the teachers that you have, or if you can have teachers come in who are specialized in different areas to build your numbers, if the mathematics work, then definitely get them in and start just offering different things to your families, because then they're going to choose to come to you. And then if they're coming to you for cheer, well, then they may as well stay for jazz. They may as well stay for ballet and acro. So see where I'm going with that? All right. So those are the points that I just wanted you to think about when you are putting your timetable together. And sometimes it will take a few times to work it out. And I am very visual, so I like to actually see it out in front of me and then maneuver it around. Depending on how you work, that might work for you. But it is definitely worth considering. And the other thing too, which I see some studios that don't do this, is have your timetable really accessible for people who are inquiring, or they're going to your website. Have it downloadable, have it so easy, have it a link on your Facebook page. Make it really easy for a parent to have a look at your timetable. And the other thing I suggest, because to us, obviously, timetables, we can see it and we know exactly what it is. But for someone coming in who doesn't know the setup, it can be quite overwhelming and confusing. So I suggest color coding, because I think color coding is a good way, which might be in your levels or it might be age group, however you set out your timetable. But if you have it in different colors, someone coming in with no idea at least can identify, or you could say your child is in all the red classes. So then they can go through the timetable and say, okay, cool. Well, I can do a Thursday, so I'll do these classes because I know she's a red. So that's just another thing as well. And I am guilty of doing this too, but if our names get too fancy, it gets too confusing for people, and it could turn them away if it gets too hard. So just remember that. Remember keeping things as simple as possible, making it a no-brainer for your parents. So it's just an easy yes. Remember, a confused mind doesn't buy. All right. So I'm going to leave it there with the timetabling, and I wish you luck as you move forward towards the end of this year, timetabling for your new year. If you have any questions about this, please put them up on social media. We've got our Facebook group, Dance Studio Empire, which is a private group for studio owners, and put the questions in there. Or if you would like me to even look over your timetable, upload it into the group and I can have a look and I can suggest different things for you. So anyway, I certainly wish you luck, and I look forward to hearing how you go. Until then, have a really great week, and I will see you next week on the Dance Studio Empire podcast.